Ephesians 4:32 starts, "Be kind and compassionate to one another." And that's the one another command that we'll be focusing on this week. It's also a very good example of the need for us to read the Bible carefully and prayerfully. Because if we're just letting the words pass before our eyes, then we see a phrase like kind and compassionate and we think, oh right, so we're being told to be nice. No problem. Nice is easy. Nice is easy, mainly because it's such a flexible substance. I can award myself points for being nice when I'm really just in a good mood and feeling vaguely benevolent towards the rest of you. This isn't a command to be nice. We can see that by having our first pause the video moment and reading from Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 to chapter 5 and verse 2. Notice the kinds of behaviours that are mentioned in verse 31 particularly as the background for this kind and compassionate command. Together, please note, with a command to forgive as we are forgiven in Christ. The context here suggests exactly the kind of behaviour might be going on that will almost always knock the niceness right out of us. But it won't kill compassion. Why not? Actually, let's discuss that. Pause and discuss. What knocks niceness on the head? And why doesn't it affect compassion in the same way? I'm going to suggest that the answer has to do with feelings. Now, both niceness and compassion are fueled by feelings, but my niceness, such as it is, runs off my own feelings. My compassion acts on your feelings, whatever I perceive them to be. We've already read in Ephesians 5:1, "Be imitators of God." So let's see what this looks like in Jesus. Why not read now Luke chapter 7, verses 11 to 17. So what is the mother's situation? What takes place within Jesus? And what does that lead him to do? And you might also want to say, what would niceness have done here? Jesus' heart went out to her. The feelings and needs that moved him belonged to her situation, not his. It led him to act in a way that broke the traditional boundaries. Holy men were not supposed to touch coffins. Niceness would no doubt have observed the decencies and done enough to satisfy our need to belong, not to give offence, and then probably just gone on with its day. It might have joined in with the funeral, it certainly wouldn't have stopped it and raised the dead. Now read Mark chapter 6, verses 30 to 46. And let's ask ourselves, what needs and feelings are moving Jesus at the outset, leading him to do what? And how does Jesus' compassion for the crowd then move him to act? So yes, he's moved at first by the disciples' need, their need to rest and eat, so he takes them away to a solitary place. Faced with the crowd, his compassion is moved by their needs and feelings, and so he first teaches them, and then he feeds them, and then, equally important, he dismisses them. Here's something else to think about. Make a statement, discuss it. Authentic Christian leadership is leadership that is moved by the needs of the group that it serves. Discuss with reference to music ministry, youth ministry, teaching ministry, any other ministry you can think of. Jesus told two parables, which both showed people moved by compassion, breaking the boundaries, identifying fully with others in their need, to almost the point of forgetting themselves. Read Luke chapter 10, verses 25 to 37. What are the feelings and the needs that send the priest and the Levite scurrying past? Well, it's their own, of course. What moves the Samaritan into action? Oh, read verse 33. Note the question that prompted Jesus to tell this story. It's about loving your neighbour as yourself. That's not easy. It's challenging. And the expert in the law wants to limit the challenge, like we all do at our worst, so that loving others can amount to mere niceness, something that can easily be run off our own feelings and our own self-regard. Jesus isn't having any of it. In the real thing, our hearts go out to others. In Luke 15, verses 11 to 32, what feelings would you expect to be going on inside the typical father, given the chain of events? If he acts on those feelings, what would you expect the father to do? How, in other words, does the elder brother think the story should run its course? What actually moves this father? And to do what? Again, we focused on the one another command that is most to do with the transformation of our minds and our hearts. If we want to see how that in turn translates specifically into our behaviour, why not finish by reading Romans 12:10 and Galatians 6:2. If you have been, thank you for joining in.